In the context of its Going Digital project, the OECD has looked at the policy implications, opportunities and challenges of digitalization across different areas. Based on the OECD work, what do you think are the opportunities, but also the risks and challenges that digitalization brings to competition?
Well, digitalization is really transforming our economies and our societies. We have the internet, we have smartphones, we have cloud computing, we have big data, we have algorithms, we have artificial intelligence, we have blockchain and even predictive behavior data analytics. And the OECD has been looking at the policy challenges in all of these areas, in many, many policy areas. And it started a project called the Going Digital project that looks at science and technology, but also at public governance, education, labor, financial markets. It looks at trade, the impacts for trade. It looks at tax, and of course, it looks at competition as well. And the competition committee of the OECD has also been very much dedicated to the issue of the digital economy and the challenges, the opportunities, both the opportunities and challenges of the digital economy. So we've looked at several issues such as disruptive innovation. We've looked at big data, we've looked at algorithms and collusion. We've looked at platforms, and so multi-sided platforms and the challenges that we have there, but also e-commerce and blockchain. And we are now in November going to have one roundtable to establish some links between competition and consumer protection policy. So we have been at the OECD very much aware that digitalization brings both opportunities and risks and challenges. On the opportunity side, we know that this digitalization is bringing new products and services into the market. It's allowing for the customization of products and services. It's allowing for improved quality. It's allowing for better business processes. It's allowing for reducing costs for companies, to reduce the need for intermediaries, and it's actually bringing competition into a lot of markets that were previously insulated from that competition. So there are immense opportunities with digitalization, and we should not forget about those opportunities even when we discuss the challenges and the risks. But of course there are challenges and risks to competition and challenges to competition authorities that are assessing those risks. So we see, for example, competition authorities having to deal with mergers in this digital space, and sometimes recognizing that the merger thresholds are not prepared to actually deal with some of these mergers. But we also have anti-competitive vertical restraints. We have algorithmic collusion that has to be tackled. We have abuse of dominance and sometimes new ways of abusing dominance, like, for example, exploitative abuse with the use of personal data. So a lot of challenges that competition authorities have to tackle. And if we look at some of these markets, so for example, if we look at big data may be a new source of market power. So we can look at data as an implicit price, for example, especially when you have the zero price economy. But you can also look at data as an input or an asset that is needed to compete. But is data a quality dimension of competition? So all of these are challenges that competition authorities have to handle. If you look at algorithms, with the transparency that it's bringing, the high frequency of interaction between the players, we can have collusive outcomes even without communication between companies. And so how are competition authorities going to deal with this? How are they going to detect potential collusion? How are they going to find who is liable for that collusion? And if we look at platforms platforms are multi-sided. We need to know which tools we should use to deal with two-sided or multi-sided markets. And in markets that, because we have a lot of network externalities, because we have economies of scale, we have normally data assets, we have intellectual property, we have low variable costs and very high fixed costs. It's very probable that we have highly concentrated markets. So we need to deal with potential abuses of dominance in those markets that may become more and more concentrated. So these challenges, if we ask then, are competition authorities and the competition regime and competition laws fit for purpose? In general, what people have been saying is that they are indeed fit for purpose, but we may need to refine our analytical tools, not really redefine them, but refine them, especially, for example, in the domain of platforms where we need to take into account the cross-network externalities. But of course, competition authorities also need to have the right resources. And it's true that in this changing world, perhaps the regular resources that competition authorities have are not enough. We may have to think of having, for example, data scientists who also help competition authorities. So this is quite an interesting world that we're living in. Competition authorities should not do this by themselves alone. I think each competition authority has a lot to gain for cooperating internationally, but also with have a lot to gain with cooperating with other entities that are responsible for other areas, such as consumer protection agencies or data protection agencies. So all of this has been widely discussed at the OECD. I invite you all to actually look at all the discussions that we have that are all online at oecd.org/competition. And of course, I also invite you to watch our YouTube channel where you'll find a lot of information on this.